was that? Heimgartner's got down the inside. Oh, he has not got down the inside of Shane Van Gisbergen. I thought it was done. He ended, and there's more trouble on the exit. Courtney's in strife. Winterbottom's in strife. How did Jamesy sneak across the front of everybody and not get T-boned?
Unbelievable. We'll have to try to unravel this for you, folks, because that's a lot of damage to Mark Winterbottom's car. We saw him in the dirt 3 times. Or, no, sorry, that's the 3rd time, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a huge amount of damage on the side of that car.
Right rear suspension damage together with all the cosmetic stuff in the passengers' doors. This is back at turn 1 and 2. So looking back in the pack, we see that Heimgartner makes a move, but then as Shane turns to try and make the corner, he gets the rear of Andre's car. But I don't understand what occurred up the back here. We're riding with Frosty. This, okay. So LeBrock got involved with, I might have been with Macaulay. How's this for a whack-up?
I think Macaulay was just in front of it. Yeah. I think LeBrock got caught up with Di Pasquale. So there's the turnaround. He'll be in a bit of strife for that one. And then just in behind that lunacy. So check this out. That checks them all up. So Cam Waters and Macaulay run to the inside. That was David Reynolds with LeBrock. And then the spin. Oh, that was so close, wasn't it?
I thought for all money, Courtney was going to get whacked then. So Reynolds, yeah, when they all check up, they're all expecting to accelerate out of the corner. This is James' viewpoint. It's Skittles at tail and bend.
But nice move there, and there's going to be contact. Big contact, and they're spinning. Waters is gone. Is that Davison or Anton? LeBrock down the inside. It was Davison.
Here's the replay of what happened down at turn 6. So LeBrock way down the inside, locks up, ends up just sideswiping Waters, who indeed gets Will Davison. Jack Smith, for the 2nd day in a row, has to take evasive action. This time, though, the SCT Logistics entry gets away with it without any damage. On board with Cam. Look at the congestion. 3 wide down here. He's in behind Bryce forward. Turn 4. And he's having a bit of a look at 5. He knows he's got a car underneath him, so he's very ginger on the throttle. That's Will Davison. So then he tries to cover and watch for Jack. Bang. He's arrived.
And then that was Will Brown and Brock Feeney that got through. So yesterday they got caught up, Will Brown. He was lucky in that.
Oh, he's gone nowhere. Randall's gone nowhere. He'll have to use the anti-stall. Heavily by Heimgartner. Heimgartner's gone straight into the back. It'll trigger a safety car, and that is a disastrous start.
You're right, brother.
What a shame. So Thomas Randall has stalled on the line. He didn't get the anti-stall going and get it mobile, or he's had a failure. And it's in fact been red flagged now, and then heavy contact. We were hoping that everybody would get around.
Control to all teams, advise your drivers. Control to all teams, advise your drivers. Due to the impact on the front grid, all cars to pit lane, please. All pit lane.
That is a significant impact. You can see Andre there very tentatively getting out of the car. And we'll take you through some speeds in a second, because that would have been in excess of 100 kilometres an hour for sure. First gear is 111 kilometres an hour.
When you change out of 2nd to 3rd, it's 144. 3rd to 4th, it's 178 k's. So the cars make great velocity in a very short period of time. Let's hope that Andre is all good. He looks pretty tender, as you said, Mark, as he's getting out of the car. And unfortunately, that vehicle of his has copped enormous damage. And similarly, the Thomas Randall car, not in very good shape. So an awkward and awful way to get things started, unfortunately, out there for us. But the good news is the drivers are walking away, and we'll get this scene cleaned up as quickly as possible.
So you watch this, he moves, and then he moves again, and that's when it stalled. That's probably close enough to 150 kilometres an hour, I reckon that is.
You don't want to see at the start of a motor race. Okay, so
race control safety car proceeding to pit lane with field behind us.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're breathless. That's a nasty, nasty shunt. And off the road, Brock Feeney. What a shame from a solid run this afternoon. It sounds like he might have been helped.
That's a long way off the road.
I don't even know where he is.
It's coming onto the straight. This is the replay. So there's David, and then bang, hit, contact, and spin across that wet grass, and finally he lands in the sand trap.
That has implications in the points when you think where he's now dropped into the field. Here's the replay from the roof cam. So he gets up there, but there's a bit of shake, rattle and roll in that process. And then unfortunately for Brock, he ends up off the road. Mostert has made a very decent start here as well. But Randall, what a ripping start.
That was a great start. Mostert probably got the best start of the lot, but Randall walked the car off with almost no wheel spin. Contact in the middle of the field. That's a big one for Will Brown, who's got the front of that car knocked off. Is that Cam Hill also? So there's a lot of damage to the front of the Coke Camaro for Will. And have a look at that. Jack Smith. That is a heavy, heavy incident down there at turn 1 to 2.
Boards and flags. Safety car boards and flags. Incident turn 1.
So race control just bringing the field now under control because of that, because of the front bumper assembly that's come off Will Brown's car. Tom Moore on the left, he's the engineer for that car, and Jack Smith's car disabled on the road there as well, and the medical team just checking that he's all okay. So didn't see what triggered all that. It was way back in the pack. Cam Hill is also a victim in the process. He's out of the car and all okay. So it's going to take a little while to actually clean this up, but what a great start for Thomas Randall. George Commons and Tom Moore just watching, and the engineering bunker down there at Coca-Cola Racing. It's what I was alluding to before, when they go down there 2 and 3, sometimes 4 wide. It was actually, I had to think about it for a moment to see where Mostert had come from. He came from all the way back to the right-hand side of the grid and then back out to the left, and he was second by the time they got down here to turn 1. That was a blinder. So what goes on further beyond? So someone's turned Will, and then because he's parked where he is, unfortunately Cam Hill and Jack Smith are just victims in the process.
This will tell a bit of the story, because someone gets into the back of Will reasonably early on there. Just there. Yeah, so that's Cam Hill. Or is it?
No, Jack
LeBrock, sorry. Yeah.
So it was like, looked like Jack was the one that made the contact with Will. This is Frosty, Mark Winterbottom.
Who does a great job here. What's all this? I don't reckon he actually made contact. So that's a brilliant job by Mark Winterbottom.
So there's the tag.
Now, Will must have got a bad start too, Crompo, because he was at the back of the top 10 and he was in behind the guys that were 12th and 13th.
So Cam Hill, evasive action, had to basically spin the car, and then Jack Smith had nowhere to go. So this is the out wide manoeuvre that I was talking about before, where sometimes the world can just open up for you. But if all this stuff happens, you end up getting trapped like that. Have your wits about you at the start of these races. Now we're on board here with LeBrock. So focus here. Will got a tardy start. That's him wandering around in the Coke car, trying to find a clean line down here.
So Percat and Courtney ended up getting across to the inside. When you're on the outside, you're vulnerable, like now.
Yeah, so there was also a little moment that Will had that helped precipitate that. So I don't know whether he actually got a bump or whether or not he just had a bit of a lock-up on cold tyres there.
And Van Gisbergen was also the recipient. As everyone was bumping into each other, he did a nice job to get to 4th.
Oh, push. So far out and off that he's rotated it.
Geez, he's going to back it in, isn't he?
Oh, he has. He has. So we actually rode with him all the way to the wall.
You're all good.
And that's bruised it.
Yeah, but
it's killed the left rear. So that started with a gigantic amount of understeer.
Copy.
Sam Scafidi on the radio in the background, and and then actually made the remark earlier in the first practice session that if you do venture wide today, you're going to find it's very wet and muddy and horrible out there. So the push, the lack of turn in the front of the car in the final turn took James wide of the corner, took him out onto the green, and there's a bit of gravel out there as well on the wrong side of the curb. And then here's no man's land, no grip, and it's torn the left rear corner out of that car. So unfortunately, that's going to take quite some time to rectify. They'll put it into the garage where everybody can go to work on it. Next up, they'll have overall qualifying 3-part quali. So they'll get that sorted. This is what it looked like from the outside. So this is out of turn 17, up the hill slightly into the final corner. And then we were looking over his shoulder and he was pulling on more lock, and he's gone across the dirt, on the grass, nailed the Merlin sign. And then it's found its way all the way to the other side of the road and whacked the concrete wall, and there's zero give in that. Here's another angle, miles away. I was a little bit worried that he was going to catch the end of the pit lane wall.
That's what I thought too.
And that's probably also put a bruise on the left front. Here it is again. So watch the reference at the top of the steering with the red tape on it. Watch where it goes. Big lock, big lock, big lock. More. And then he tried to pick the throttle up to see if he could steer it out of it, just made it worse. That's a big hit, 2 hits in fact. So he tried to throttle steer it then to see whether or not he could get it round. Gas down there, we'll pick up the story.
And McLaughlin might have to cover, and he does. He moves it to the right, and Whincup goes down the inside. This is going to be tight. They force the issue. There's contact. They're both off the road. So McLaughlin and Whincup have made contact, and that will reveal Van Gisbergen in the leader. McLaughlin's now in the midfield or beyond. That's a game changer in the championship. So we've got Van Gisbergen, Mostert, De Pasquale, 1, 2 and 3. They didn't get to the end of the lap. I called it too soon about a clean start. It didn't happen.
That is a huge moment in the 2020 championship. And we'll have to get a couple of different replays, and Craig Baird will be having a really good look at what's gone on there, because they were both trying to get into turn 17. A last-minute dive. He's up far enough. Did he have total control of it? Was he making the apex? That's the question.
View from on board McLaughlin, who moved it to the right and then moved back to the racing line, and that opened up the gap. And then there's contact. Looked like he was going to spin, but he gathered it up. Here's the other view from Shane Van Gisbergen's car. Watch Jamie. Jamie had it locked up also on the rears, which will also make the story more confusing to unravel when you're the driving standards advisor. McLaughlin moves to the right, Whincup dives, but right at the critical moment, Whincup's got the rear brakes locked. They have hip and shoulder contact, off they both go. They are racing for sheep stations out there, and all of a sudden the world opens up for Shane Van Gisbergen.
Hindgartner's got, I think, damage on the front of that car. Scott McLaughlin, championship leader in. They're looking for fresh air.
Ooh, a lot of damage.
He'll be battling to see an apex with that bonnet up like it is. So, first amount of fuel delivered to car number 17 to Scott McLaughlin. We'll get an understanding on that for you as quickly as we can. I don't think it was a huge amount of fuel, frankly. I think it was around about the 30-odd litre mark.
So that's for position there, Neil. So that was Scotty Pye. That car's so damaged that you can't... I reckon he's hit the back of that car on the way out of the pit just then. So that was already damaged. It's hit harder in pit lane, and that's then forced that all back onto the wheel.
Well, it looked second-hand when we took a shot of it in the lane. It looked even worse after this.
Well, that's the first bit. That's the first bit. So that's where the damage was that you picked up on immediately, but it gets worse. So Tander was re-entering. Hopefully we'll catch this at some stage, but it's pretty bad. Yeah, look at it. It'll have to come in. That is a lot of damage.
Close right.
Massive, wasn't it? Yeah. And you see Andre Heimgartner now trying to position himself down the inside of Slade. Slade's in the mulga, and Waters is gone.
It was Mostert and Waters that made contact as a result of Slade. So Slade ended up in the dirt, and Mostert and Waters have got together again. It's a secondary impact, and there's big damage on the right rear of the Monster Energy car.
That's
unbelievable.
Championship changer for Waters. We know he's in...
This window.
The whole right rear corner of that car is now completely flying apart. So for Waters, it'll be back into the lane. Macaulay Jones as well, and they're not going to turn that car around in a hurry.
So we were talking about that left-hand front hanging out of Mostert's car also. So we were talking pre-race about the history with those two guys. It didn't really come from a straight-up battle with them. It come from the circumstances around Heimgartner and Slade. Heimgartner now putting pressure on. He's actually got a good run here too. He's got a really good run on Will Davison. Can he get the toe and sneak himself down the inside?
Let's have a look at the replay of what happened here back at the start. So, Slade runs wide as a result of Heimgartner down the inside. As Mostert jumps to the left, he tags Waters, who rotates off into the other side of the universe.
Aggression from Heimgartner. Have a look at that contact and the force. Have a look at how much damage it did to the right rear. So the...
Oh, okay, now I understand what happened to Percat.
I couldn't work that out either. So watch this. The aggression from Heimgartner down the inside of Slade. Slade comes back on, bang! And the sort of secondary effect for Mostert and Waters. And have a look also at the gains and losses. We'll take you through those in a second. This is Mark Winterbottom.
That's Percat to the left with David Reynolds just in front. And so they all check up. At one stage, they were 4 wide down here, and Brodie was also right down the inside as well.